Donald Trump has stepped up his attacks against sanctuary cities like New York, first threatening to cut off federal funding and now sending judges here and to a dozen other cities. The move is to crack down on undocumented immigrants, even though there's growing evidence that immigrants are less likely to commit crimes than U.S.-born citizens.
Well, today we're going to be joined by three people who are pushing back against the Trump administration. They are the Reverend Kaji Dousa, the senior minister of the Park Avenue Christian Church. Welcome back to BK Live.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Happy to have you. And from new Sanctuary Coalition NYC, we want to welcome Janice Hoseine, co-chair of that organization. Thank you for being here. And she's right next to its executive director, face familiar here, Ravi Ragbir, whose own deportation order turned him into a nationally recognized activist. Hey, Ravi.
Hi,
good to see you.
Good to see you. But I will say, every time I've come here, there's a new hairstyle on you.
Oh, come on.
Really?
Don't derail this important
Okay,
topic.
all right.
No, like, hey, welcome. I'll try to keep it fresh for you.
I know. Well, you have to when I've got this boring look every single day.
Ask a question, young lady.
Kaji, so we know, okay, so New York City is a sanctuary city, right? But what is the role of institutions of faith in this whole thing?
Well, first of all, we try to position ourselves to understand that sanctuary is a way of life. So when we orient ourselves to be sanctuary, then that means that we're being kind and hospitable to people and we're seeing them in the image of God, which is what we believe from Christian, Judeo-Christian and Muslim traditions. Within that, a sanctuary city then promises that they are not going to act outside of due process as we treat people as the created, loved human beings that they are. And so that's what faith institutions are calling Mayor de Blasio, City Council, our legislature, governor, all the elected officials who are here to represent the people, to remember that all people need to be protected and due process followed. And that's what we're not seeing now.
So is it going to literally be like the Hunchback of Notre Dame with people standing in the gate saying, you cannot pass, mixing with the Lord of the Rings or something? If it comes down to that, like churches, the physical spaces giving people sanctuary.
Yeah, and that's already what's happening. So you see a number of congregations already. I think already 20 congregations have said that they would resist deportation for people who they believe actually have the legal right to be here if the court's process could be followed. And so that is what we're seeing in a number of congregations already in the city and certainly all over the country. But it's not just that. It's also showing up with people to their accompaniment. Today, we accompanied someone and he was detained and arrested for no reason. And they say they're going to deport him back to Colombia. We're going to do a press conference for him at 2 o'clock. This isn't how we need to do things. We need to follow the law. And so if they're talking about people being illegal, then the government can't act illegally.
So Ravi, you have a squad. You know about the strength in numbers that can happen when you bring your community with you when you're up against what seems like an insurmountable force.
Right. That's right. The community makes a difference. I'm stepping off what Reverend Kaji was just talking about. Even though we're talking about a legal process here, if you look at the legality of that legal process, so I refer back to the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, who said that everything that Hitler did was legal. Right? So if this law is destroying families, if this law is destroying communities, then we have to look at the legality of that law. And this is where the sanctuary comes in. And this is where the people now are stepping up. They're standing up against this illegal law that is making this process legal, but actually attacking the humanity of the people who are here, who have lived here, like myself, who have built a community, built support. So what we are seeing today is that this person who went in, they called us on Friday to give him support, right? We didn't expect him to be taken away, but because he went in and he was taken away, the wife and his family have been threatened because they lose income, they lose their home. The union is also going to be threatened because they're losing members. This person will lose benefits, lose union membership because she cannot work in the position that created her, allowed her to be in the union. So we are seeing the interwoven, the intertwine of everyone's life. And this is how we know community, and this is how we know the village should be, and we will be seeing more of those things being destroyed as we move, as this administration moves towards this direction.
Janice, your own family has been torn apart. Tell us about that.
Yet again.
Yet again.
Yes, March 2nd, 2015, my husband was detained. We fought. It was a tough fight. We got him home September 9th, 2016, and we were hopeful that we can just step out and fight outside. And we went March 9th. He went for a routine check-in, and we were excited to go stand with Ravi. And then I get this call from him, and he's like, "They're taking me in," and I was totally shocked.
What?
Unexpected.
To be clear, this is not like some people might be screaming at their TV. If he was picked up jaywalking, he hopped the turnstile in the subway. This is a structured, routine process by which he's checking in with immigration officials who have it at their discretion to say who goes home or not.
Yes. It's tough. Just knowing that you comply with all rules. My husband made it very clear he just wanted to be home and work, and that's exactly what he did. And just to know that we were just robbed of that once again, it hurts, but it just makes us stronger to know that we have the sanctuary, we have the churches, we have mosques, we have synagogues, we have so many people behind us, and it makes us want to fight back harder. It gives us strength. He's in there as well, being an activist to the detainees, letting them know he just convinced someone to not sign out.
Yeah. Well, they might send him home real quick if he's spreading knowledge inside. That's
true.
Right.
That's true.
As he said, no man can take me out of a country. And that's what we're sticking to. I think, at the end of the day, it's only one person that's going to make the decision.
Right.
And whatever happens, it doesn't stop us. I spoke to Ravi and I told him, I said, listen, if you need my signature in blood, I'm going to put it, because I know how traumatizing it is. Even when this is over, because I know it's going to be over soon.
So I'm listening to your timeline, fully cognizant of the fact that he came into the system under the Obama administration. Yes. Now, whether you look at Obama as the savior or as the deporter in chief, how do you begin to dismantle the structure regardless of who's sitting in the seat at the Oval Office? Because Trump is getting a lot of noise from it, but the fact is Obama broke up a lot of families himself. Yeah. So how do we get at that thing so it doesn't change with who's ever voted in?
Well, we all have to be accountable to a structure that, if we're going to be talking about legality, then all of us need to figure out how we're going to buy into a legal system. And if the government, like I said, if the government is acting illegally, then we as the people have the opportunity to remind it of its obligations, right? And its moral obligations, its legal obligations, its political obligations. And not the only people who are getting listened to right now are the very small percentage of around 30-something% of this country, or at least the voting members of this country, who seem to be afraid and angry and want to take it out on immigrants. And the rest of us, which means 70%, need to stand up and say, you know what, you don't speak for us, and you will not take over our government. So we do have ways to push back. And one of those ways is to increase the capacity of our court system, which will go ahead and resolve these cases. Ravi has, I think, how many cases do you have pending still?
Actually, I have one last one.
One last case pending. Ramesh has 5 cases pending in the legal system. Why on earth would he leave? And then if he leaves, by the way, there's a penalty. He can't come back for quite some time. Why would he leave before the court system has done their thing? They don't want to let the courts do it. What they want to do is get rid of all these people. And my thought is that what they're trying to do is get rid of this cheaper labor force and get even cheaper. And that's where we need to watch. We need to watch the prison systems, where they're going to start taking over and getting these people to work for free, and they're already doing it with detention centers for immigrants who are facing deportation. So we have to watch what we as a country would consider acceptable, and I don't consider returning to slavery acceptable.
No, absolutely not.
So, no.
Ravi, do you see this as a war on certain immigrants? Like, do you see this as highly politicized right now, speaking about the differences between the Obama administration and the Trump administration now?
Actually, sir, yes, I can say it's a war on immigrants, but I do have to broaden it because it's a war on everyone who is poor, who is a person of color, who is LGBT. Look at the proposed budget, right? It destroys many things that are helping people. So it's not just immigrants. We are all part of it. The reason why I bring this up is we all have to work together as communities, because we are facing this onslaught, this juggernaut coming after us, because you're looking at the federal government attacking us at the financial aspect, on the medical, it's on our way of life at the ground. So we are going to be destroyed. Coming back to how to change that is people need to see what is happening. Right. So when the city council member went in and they saw the trauma and the pain that was happening in that room, they were moved. And even Councilman Jumani, he was breaking down when he was speaking at the press conference, right? And so was Speaker Melissa Mark-Viverito. So this is how people need to see that pain and that suffering. And then the passion and the anger will manifest into changing and pushing the policy, because this is wrong. And that's one of the ways we will be changing policy. But the war is definitely on, and we have to step up to stop this fascism that is growing.
Absolutely. So Janice, let's get specific about some of those campaigns that Sanctuary NYC is doing.
Yes. It started when he was first taken in, Ramesh was first taken in. We started a petition. The petition, I looked at the petition being all over. And as I got the support from New Sanctuary, I felt like it freed some of my time to step in and help others as well. And I want to say that right now I am the voice of my community for immigration, because we have a lot of people that want to ask questions, but they're afraid to. And we had a rally, and we came out to that rally, and people were so receptive, and it's just making noise in a positive way. You know, letting others know that we want to be their voice. If they can't speak up, we want to be that voice for them as well. Right now, everything that's going on, I treat it as though you have a job. You're an ICE officer, you have a job. You're the president, you have a job. I'm a wife experiencing this. This is my job.
And we're asking people to come for these hearings. People can show up for accompaniment. If they want more information about that, they can go to newsanctuarynyc.org, and we will be in touch with them. We will train them. We are training people on, Ravi consistently is training people on knowing their rights. You know, don't open the door when ICE comes. Slip a card to them, and we can print one out for you or let you print one out that just says, I need to see a warrant, and it needs to be signed by a judge before you, please, whoever you talk to who might be facing this, make sure they know they should not open their door to ICE. And there are all kinds of things that we're trying to teach people so that they will not have their rights violated. We have an amendment that is against unlawful search and seizure, and ICE ignores it all over the place, but they aren't allowed to.
Right, and now they're going to courts, right, when people are actually showing up to do what they need to do, their due diligence, their due process, right? So now people are afraid to do that even, right, to actually show up and take care of their business. So what can those people do? What can people do who are applying for DACA?
They do their best, and they have to show up for their cases as their conscience allows. But what we can do, the rest of us who are not facing that, is show up with them. The press can show up there. We can be at the courts. We can watch ICE. We can be recording their illegal activities. We just heard so I can't say this is confirmed, but I heard a report today that ICE was dressed up in police jackets, misidentifying themselves in Hartford, and then arresting people and seizing them just outside courthouses. They are seizing people outside of homeless shelters, feeding people, right outside of schools. This is not the kind of country that I think we intend to live in. And so instead of worrying about what's illegal, what's not, again, focus on the illegal government.
So Ravi, just before we get out of here, you spoke about what happened when our elected officials toured these centers. who's inside? Like, from your experience, who are the people that you meet when you are inside one of these detention centers?
So they didn't go into the detention center. What they did is they just walked into 26 Federal Plaza,
Gotcha.
where is a processing center. There's also the courtroom on the 12th and 14th floor. Where the elected official went in was where, like probation. There's a room, probation, a check-in. It was a room as this size that just people were just waiting to meet their deportation officer. Deportation officer means a total ripping apart of their families. So every time they go in there, they're afraid, and that fear was tangible. And you could cut it with a knife, they say. So when they went in there, and they were just, and honestly, we believe they knew I was going to be there. They kind of.
This is their best face for.
Right. They had a lot less people in that room than normally we would see. But still, the faces that people they were, when Melissa was saying that people were coming up to her, please help me, begging for help. And if their families were allowed to be there, not that they couldn't be there, but they may be undocumented. Right? And they're afraid that if they get picked up, and people now are accompanying their family, and they are getting taken away. So you're talking about a system that is meant to just step on us and like a steamroller, just roll over us and destroy us. So what they saw was this pain, and they have been moved. Melissa, the speaker, is saying that they want to find a law to say that the ICE cannot be allowed into the courtroom. Right? Finding legislative ways to stop them from coming to the court so people can know that safely they can attend their court proceedings. Right. And this is how we need to do our sanctuary in our communities, sanctuary cities. And also, I wanted to talk about, you talk about rights. Yeah. Well, we have to talk about beyond the rights, which means that we're talking about as individuals, immigrants, we know our rights. As citizens, you have to know how to help. So an example of that is everyone needs to get their municipal ID.
Right.
Citizen, non-citizen, but not just get it, but use only the municipal ID wherever we go, whether we interact with police, ICE, or whoever. So they will not be able to differentiate at all, not just getting the application.
Right.
And this is another.
Ravi, we're going to have to cut you off. I'm so sorry because there's just not enough time. I know. But for
if
more
you have
information,
it, get your municipal. I use it as a library card. It gets me a discount at Food Bazaar. So scale one.
Please show up for Ravi on March 11th. He might
April 11th.
April 11th. He might be taken. This may be the last time you're able to talk to him in this country.